Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're going to break down the new NIS2 directive and what it really means for the public sector. But first, to really get why this matters so much, we have to look at the real-world threats that make this new directive not just important, but absolutely critical for our public services. Look, the stakes have never been higher. And this isn't some far-off what-if scenario. It is a clear and present danger that's happening right now. And if you need proof, just look at the recent events across Portugal that have brought this into sharp and, frankly, pretty scary focus. You know, this line sounds like something out of a movie, doesn't it? But it's not. This is a direct quote from a news report about a very real cyber attack on a Portuguese municipality. They were breached, and the attackers demanded a ransom of nearly 700,000 euros. When the town refused to pay, well, this happened. Their data was just put up for sale. And that town, it wasn't a one-off thing, not even close. As you can see right here, this is a widespread problem. We are seeing a pattern of targeted attacks on public services all across the country. Every single name on this list represents a community thrown into chaos, and its citizens' sensitive data put at risk. Okay, so in response to this growing threat, Europe has rolled out the NIS2 directive. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Great, another layer of bureaucracy, but it's so much more than that. You have to think of it as a structured, unified game plan for our collective defense. So here's the most important thing to get about NIS2. It is not a one-size-fits-all mandate. The key word here is appropriate. What that really means is you need to take a proportional, risk-based approach. The measures you put in place have to be tailored to your organization's specific size, how exposed you are, and what the fallout would be if you got hit. All right, so how do we actually move from seeing the problem to building the solution? Well, NIS2 gives us a pretty clear action plan, and it's built on 10 fundamental security measures. Think of these as the absolute backbone of any resilient organization. So let's just quickly run through these. It all starts with the basics, right? Risk analysis and security policies. You have to know where you're weak before you can get strong. Then incident handling. What's your playbook for the moment an attack actually happens? After that, you've got business continuity, making sure you can still function during a crisis. Supply chain security is huge. You're only as strong as your weakest partner. Then there's building security in from the start with secure system development. And finally, actually checking to make sure your defenses are working. The whole thing creates a complete 360-degree security posture. I get it. That can feel like a lot. It can be overwhelming. But the starting point is surprisingly simple. You just cannot protect what you don't know you have. So before you get into any policies or tech, you need a detailed, down-to-the-last-device inventory of every single asset on your network. And I can't stress this enough. This first step is absolutely fundamental. It means listing everything: your software, your computers, your firewalls, all of it. Then you classify it. What's mission-critical and what's not? And this is so important. Who is the person responsible for each one? Because without this full inventory, any risk analysis you do later is really just a shot in the dark. So once you have that list, you need a way to think about protecting it. This brings us to 3 core ideas that should guide how you look at every single asset. In the cybersecurity world, we call this the CIA triad. First up, you've got confidentiality. Put simply, this is all about privacy. It's about making sure your secrets stay secret. It means putting controls in place so that sensitive data, whether it's citizen health records or internal strategy docs, is only seen by people who are supposed to see it. Next up is integrity. This one is all about trust. You have to be able to guarantee that your data is accurate and reliable. You need to know for sure that the information you're using hasn't been secretly changed, corrupted, or tampered with by somebody who shouldn't have been touching it. And rounding out the triad is availability. This one's pretty straightforward: preventing downtime. For the public sector, this is everything, right? It's making sure that essential services, websites, and data are up and running for the employees and citizens who depend on them every single day. But hey, let's be real. Even with the best defenses in the world, things can still go wrong. Incidents can and do happen. So what's your ultimate safety net? What's your last line of defense when a threat actually gets through? It all comes down to one thing: backups, backups, and more backups. And we're not talking about just any old backups. The gold standard is what we call the 2-3-1 rule. It's a simple idea, but it is incredibly powerful. You keep 3 total copies of your data, you store them on 2 different types of media, and you make sure at least one of those copies is stored in a completely separate physical location. This simple strategy protects you from almost anything: hardware failure, a ransomware attack, even a fire in your building. Now, this all sounds pretty good in theory, doesn't it? But we all know that implementing it in the real world is a lot messier, especially when you're talking about the public sector, which, let's face it, has its own unique set of challenges. Let's be honest about the hurdles on the ground. IT teams are often tiny and stretched incredibly thin, with everybody wearing a dozen different hats. It's almost impossible to compete with private sector salaries to attract top cyber talent. You've got towns absorbing schools and health centers, each with its own ancient, messy infrastructure. And of course, there are always budget cuts and the massive challenge of getting people to change the way they've always done things. A huge piece of this puzzle is cultural. In Portugal, there's this concept called national porreirism, which is kind of a casual, it'll probably be fine attitude. This creates this constant tug of war between usability, the easy, comfortable way we've always done things, and security, which, let's be honest, can sometimes feel restrictive. Finding that balance is the whole game. So what this all boils down to is a massive culture shift. Security training can't just be a box you check for compliance anymore. It's about completely reframing how people see their role. It's about making every single person, from the front desk to the mayor's office, understand that they are an active, conscious part of the defense. And this, right here, gets to the absolute heart of the budget problem. It is so much easier for a politician to get funding for a new park or a road, things that people can see and touch. It is incredibly hard to get money for invisible security infrastructure that, when it's working perfectly, produces, well, nothing. No headlines, no incidents. Success is silence. Okay, but here's where NIS2 gets really interesting. This is the part that changes everything. For the very first time, this directive places direct legal accountability for managing these risks squarely on the shoulders of top management. That means they can be held personally liable for failures, facing huge fines. This isn't just an IT problem anymore. Nope. By law, it is now a leadership problem. And so that leaves us with the big final question, doesn't it? With the people at the very top now legally on the hook, will this finally be the thing that shifts our perspective? Will cybersecurity at long last be treated as the critical, ongoing investment that it is, instead of just another cost on a spreadsheet? The security of our public services really depends on the answer.